Hello everybody, how are you? This is Mike at Curvature. I'm back with, as promised, number 6 in the series. 6 things to look for in a third-party maintenance provider. Number 6, drum roll, testing. Expect the best. We're going to recap real quick here. Number 1, global delivery and support, self-explanatory at this point. Number 2, 100% sparing. Make sure your provider is sparing out 100% of the items in the platform. Everything field replaceable, they should be sparing. Number 3, certifications. Do they have a TL9000? Are they R2 certified recycler? Get those certifications. Number 4, flexible contracts. Nobody's got time for rigid contracts anymore. It's a new world out there. You got to move at the speed of business. Number 5, engineering resources. Quick resolution, highly capable level 3 engineers, expert engineers. That's what you want from your provider. They got to be smarter than you, or else they're not going to be able to help. And finally, number 6, testing. Expect the best. Testing. So, testing's critical. I mean, that's kind of obvious on the surface, right? Testing is critical. If you're in need of a replacement part and you're paying for support on that part, especially 4-hour, you need that part to work. It better work. Now, you may not know this, but OEMs like Cisco, like Dell, all of them, essentially, they use refurbished or reconditioned, that's what Dell likes to call it, reconditioned parts. As a replacement. Now, there are 3 reasons why refurbished parts are used in lieu of new parts. Number 1, less costly to the OEM, kind of obvious. Number 2, for older systems that are end of sale or a little bit older at this point, new parts may no longer be available. So they don't have a choice but to use refurbished parts. They're not manufacturing those parts any longer. So they're having to use refurbished parts. But number 3 is really the most important. It's the one that matters the most. And that's that failure rates are lower for refurbished parts. Kind of makes no sense. But when you think about it and you unpack that a little bit further, it will. So I'm going to pick on number 3 a little bit, which it sounds crazy, but it's true. Bear with me. Now, I want you to Google something. It's called the bathtub curve. There it is, sort of. The bathtub curve. There's a Wikipedia article for this. You can find it. So I'll give you a second to Google that. Okay. Now, if you're looking at the bathtub curve, you're going to see that there are 2 slopes on either side. Now, on the far right side of the bathtub curve, you're going to have something they call wear out failures. I like to call this dying of natural causes failures, to put it in human terms. Then on the left side, you have what, I don't know why they call it this, but they call it the early infant mortality rate failures. I wish there was a better term. I'm going to make one up here better than that in a second. But that's what they call it. Now, you've probably heard of products marketed as having military specs, military specifications. Well, part of having military specs, at least when it comes to critical technology applications and systems, is having the left side of the bathtub curve removed completely. Remove that left side from the equation. Now, this is done by burn-in testing or stress testing, stress screening. It's all the same thing. Remove that from the equation. So if there are a high degree of failures at the beginning of a product's lifetime, say it's the first 90 days, then removing those 90 days from the equation gives products a much lower rate of failure when you look at their entire lifetime. So refurbished parts are able to accomplish this. These are parts that have been in customer networks for some time, presumably longer than 90 days. And that's what we use, and that's what all other OEMs use. So basically, Curvature uses military grade parts as replacement. So that's what you're getting. It's pretty awesome. Now, in a parts replacement situation, there simply is not enough time to test products for 90 days. That's obvious. You have a 4-hour SLA. You can't sit there and wait for 90 days. So companies like us and like Cisco and like Dell, we use reconditioned parts, reconditioned, as Dell likes to call it, as replacements. Now, effectively, these are past their 90-day fresh from the factory floor mortality rate. Fresh from the factory floor mortality rate. But you can't just use refurbished parts. This is only half the equation. You have to be able to test these parts and make sure they're still in like new condition. Not all refurbished parts were created equal. And these parts need to be tested before deploying to you, the customer. If you've ever leased a car, when you return it, they're going to run some diagnostics to make sure you weren't out there every Saturday running laps in the hot sun. You know, they prefer a car that was driven in temperate temperatures to work and home. Not very fast. Rather than something that's been raced every Saturday. So just like these parts, we have to take these parts in, test them, and make sure that they're still in like new condition. So how does Curvature do this? Now, I don't know how Cisco and Dell do this, but presumably they do something similar. We use something called the Spirent Test Center. Now, if you haven't heard of Spirent, it's a company known for developing software, applications, and hardware to help companies test new products, validate their networks, test new solutions, interoperability before deploying those in their networks or offering these services to their customers. So we use Spirent Test Centers to test every single port and every single feature of device to make sure it's in like new condition before deploying that to a forward stocking location and before deploying that to you under a parts replacement situation. The test beds that we use are roughly about $3 million a piece. We have one in every operations center where we are testing equipment before deployment. And I think we have 3 or 4 operating centers at this point, and that's growing. So it's quite an investment. It's not cheap to do this, but it is how you do it right. And to prove, and we have this data, to prove that we're doing it right, we actually have a 0.5% failure rate. Yes, that's less than 1% failure rate on our refurbished equipment. And relative to new failures, is not usually published how often new devices fail in the field by the OEMs, but it's probably in the 2 to 4% range as best as we can glean from our historical data. So when evaluating a third-party maintenance company, you have to ask them, are you doing your own testing? If they're not, they're just off. You can't work with them. They have to be doing their own testing. What specifically are they testing? It's not enough to just turn the machine on and make sure the lights turn green and not yellow and not red. They have to be testing features. They have to be testing ports. They have to be pushing line rate data, 40 gig, 10 gig. What are they using to test with? What is their testing platform? You have to be able to simulate actual traffic over a long period of time, full routing tables, full layer 3 features. You have to be able to test all these things, and it takes specific equipment to do that. And what is your failure rate? Show me the failure rate. Just like you're getting the sparing report, 100% sparing, what is the failure rate on your refurbished equipment? They should have it. If they don't, they're off the table. So that's it, testing. Everyone is using refurbished parts. That's no secret, although it's usually in the fine print. I'm reading Cisco here right now. Will my original part be returned to me? No, Cisco will replace your failed part with a fully refurbished and tested part. So there you go. Cisco's doing it, Dell's using it, reconditioned. But you have to make sure that your provider is hands-on. They have to be doing their own testing. They have to know what they're doing, and they have to be using carrier-grade testing equipment or military spec testing equipment before these parts get shipped to you. Make sure that they're doing that. If they aren't, It's just simply not enough because there are more qualified companies like Curvature that are doing this level of testing. So that's it. Those are the 6 things. We did it. Although if you watch any of the other videos, you know there's a 7th thing coming. I just have to figure out what it is. Oh, that's right. Anyway, so next week we'll have number 7 in the series. We're going to have to rewrite this whole white paper. But we will get to number 7 next week. Thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. I know this is a long one. Again, Mike at Curvature. Like the video or not, don't like it. Subscribe to this channel. Become my friend on LinkedIn. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. You can get me at my email, which is mbennett@curvature.com, or at my direct line, 805-879-0614. And I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.